All right guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little segment called Real Reviews of Real Tools for Real Craftsmen. Today we're working on the M18 Milwaukee fuel chainsaw. When I'm looking for a tool for my business, we run a custom timber frame business here and a sawmill business. I need to know these tools are going to perform. So when I look for a review, I look for somebody that's working with them on a daily basis, torturing them, using them for what they're meant for, and depending on them for a paycheck. And so that's what these reviews are going to be about. All right, so what we've got here today is an M18 Milwaukee fuel chainsaw, 16-inch bar, where it comes stock. I bought this off Amazon, comes straight like this. We're gonna have an 8 milliamp hour battery. Now this is an extended capacity battery. I've run this saw with a 5 milliamp hour battery, and I'll talk about the differences in just a minute. So the saw feels pretty good. It's not as heavy as a gas saw. It's not nowhere near as loud as a gas saw, as you'll see, and it does have a oil reservoir for your bar and chain oil. It's automatic oiling. There's no pumping of primers or anything like that, like you have on some of the cheaper, you know, smaller electric chainsaws, even the 110 volt chainsaws. So, and it lasts forever on chain oil. It does really well, and it's adjustable, if I'm not mistaken. The oil output's adjustable, just like a steel is. It has a bar lock, just like any other saw. Push forward to lock, pull back to engage, and that seems to work really well. And that is not a clutch system, that is an actual electronic shut-off. So it will not allow you to run the saw without that gauge, just like you would expect. Now, one thing about this saw that I really like is we use it in the shop a lot for rough out work. For some timber frame operations we do. So if there's just like a really big rough out, we got to remove a lot of material. We're not worried about precision. We're going to clean all that up afterwards. This is great because in the way it's different than a normal chainsaw. And with a normal chainsaw, you can do this as well. But with this saw, you can feather the trigger and have very good speed control. I mean, that is very good speed control. So if you're not wanting to remove a lot of material, you're trying to do something really fine, really gentle, you can do that. It's very responsive. It's very responsive, and I find that really great when you're doing detail work in the shop, which not a lot of people use a chainsaw for that, but we do sometimes, and it's really important for us. Also, we grab the saw every day because we don't want to pull start the steel, which is a great saw. We use it a lot. We've also got an Echo we use a lot. And love those saws for their power. If I was in the woods, fell in trees, I would not take this saw. Maybe throw it in the truck for a backup, for a limb saw, something like that. But in general, I would definitely take a gas saw with you. But for around the mill, for around the house, around the shop, odds and ends, cutting runners to length, just those kinds of things, rough out operations, this is perfect because it never lets you down. So what we normally do is I've got two 8 milliamp hour batteries we keep at the shop most times when we're cutting logs to length and doing finish work, stuff like that. And most of the time I can throw a battery in the charger. By the time this battery is spent, the other battery's ready to go. So the battery life is outstanding. I'm pretty sure they sell a 12 milliamp hour as well, and if they do, I'll put that in the description. We don't have one of those, but the casing on this saw is designed such where you could run a much larger battery, and I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. I can't imagine how long it lasts on a 12. It does so good on an 8. Also, down here on the bottom is where they have stowed your chainsaw tool. Everybody's got a different name for that. This one, in cold weather, it's kind of hard to get out. So you've got your chainsaw tool there for loosening your blade and tightening your blade. So that's handy. It stays in there really good. It's got a metal clip. It's not in a plastic molding, so that's really, really handy. They put a hole in the bottom of here, so when you fill the back of it with shavings, it comes out the bottom. It doesn't pack up in there with your battery, because your battery does vibrate a little bit inside the saw. Obviously there's some vibration going on, and it seems to perform rather well. You get a window here for your oil. We talked about that earlier, but this lets you know how much oil you have in your saw. You don't want to run the saw dry. There's no warning. You just want to keep an eye on your oil. If you do, you'll ruin your bar and chain. Also on the trigger here, you can see we've got a safety button here that you have to push with your pointer finger in order to be able to pull the trigger. That's nice if you're just grabbing the saw out of the truck and for some reason you don't have the clutch engaged, but you should. It won't kick on and tear the saw up. Also, one other thing that I noticed on this saw, so they give you a little lug there for hanging. And so if you make a spot in your shop, run you a deck screw or maybe a smaller timber lag in the wall, you can hang this on the wall just like this and it'll stay. We've got a spot in the tool trailer where we hang it, and it seems to do really well. I like tools that are designed to be stored, because if they're not, they end up in the way and you end up destroying them or leaving them out in the rain or something like that. So we use this in the rain. Speaking of rain, there's a warning label on here that says do not use in the rain. I don't know if you can see that or not, but most of you guys that do some kind of construction or professional service know that tools will take a certain amount of moisture. You obviously don't want to jump off in a creek with this, but it has never given us any trouble. It's got rained on multiple times. Also, I mentioned this is not a saw I would take out into the logwoods with me to depend on for cutting multiple trees over and over and over. I would take a gas saw with me, preferably a Stihl, something like that. But what I did want to go over on this saw is for the homeowner or for somebody that's using it for light use or is felling, you know, I don't know, clearing roads, stuff like that. This saw does have felling marks on it. If you don't know what a felling mark is, you can see this line right here. You see this line right here? That's your felling mark. That's your 90-degree mark to the angle of the chain. And your handle is also set up with a 45. So almost every chainsaw is set up to cut at a 90-degree to the ground. If you grab it in the middle of the handle, you're cutting a 45. That's for your wedge cut or your felling cut. And if you grab it this way, you're cutting horizontally. So this line right here lets you know a 90-degree angle from your blade. So when you cut and you're making your knots, you can look at this blade right here, or this mark, and you can sight down and know exactly where your felling mark is pointing. And that's something not all little electric saws have. So they did design this with the thought of having a full chainsaw with full features. All right, guys, so that's been a real review. This is a tool we use every day. We depend on it, and we think you can too. This one definitely passed our test for what we use it for, and for a home or a small business, something like that, it's the perfect tool. So there'll be links in the description if you want to pick one up for yourself, as well as the technical information will be there and the details for every little thing on this saw if you're interested in that. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more content. We're going to do more tool reviews, some other stuff, and we'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a segment we call Real Tools. Actually, that's not what it's called. These are real tools for real craftsmen in the real world, doing real things real often. Today we're going to review this saw, and now I've forgotten everything I was supposed to say. If you jam your finger into the chain, it really hurts. I'm recording.